So it's been a few days into the expansion now, and I sort of feel like one deck in particular has been sticking out as like a problem deck people are complaining about, which is Ramp Dragon. Not necessarily because the deck is so strong or anything, but just because it feels kind of bad to play against when they manage to draw all their ramp cards. So today we'll be playing an aggressive deck that should be able to stop them from being able to reach their late game win conditions by killing them before it ever happens. So we're playing some Temple Forest for today. So this is the list we're playing for today. It is not original, it comes from a Japanese YouTuber and forest main Dayan, who you might have already known because he is quite well known for playing nothing but forest. So usually when it comes to forest, I look for his list because forest decks can be a bit difficult to build sometimes. So yeah, we're playing his list today. He has a few experiment lists he's been experimenting with, but today we're playing the pure temple variant because this list has the best matchup against dragon. And I've been running into a lot of dragons, so I mean, being at my low elo that I am, there's a lot of dragon running around, so I thought this deck list with the most aggression in exchange for some late game power should be the most reliable for my part of the ladder, so that is what we're playing for today. It's quite straightforward stuff. You just build tempo, and then you can use ambush followers like Prudent Tanuki and Cruel as well, and then you use buff cards like Tia's Enhance 4, as well as a Gilnelis maybe, as well as this Curiosity Abounds, and Cetus and Maisha, or Arisa if you have the card style, who's all of them able to buff your board. So you line up followers, buff your board, punch your opponent in the face until they die. Pretty straightforward stuff, but the game plan itself is straightforward, but playing this deck itself requires you to play around what your opponent can do in order to maintain tempo. So you do need some deck knowledge, and it's deceptively difficult to play this deck in my opinion. So yeah, I'm definitely not very good at this deck, but I try my best. Hopefully I can give you some idea of how these decks work. That's usually what I do for these videos. So yeah, this is the list we're playing for today. Let's look at some games. So our first match here is against Dragon because that is the main idea of playing tempo right now. For the mulligan, we just keep early game cards. Miroku is very strong. Tia is great as an early buffer that can also help you fill in your curve in case you don't open anything useful. After that, you just keep 2 cost followers. Probably not Lyria, but the rest are pretty useful. So yeah, we do that. No reason to aggressively coin Tia here, so we'll just go ahead and pass here. So now we'll drop the Jellyfish Dancer. That is fine. We are going to drop Prudent Tanuki here and pass. We are taking damage here, but the main goal of this deck is to kill them before they manage to reach their high value plays. So even though we are taking damage here, it's probably like better off to set up damage to start pressuring your opponent when you can. And opponent will curve into their Zoe, so pretty strong curve from them for now, but hopefully we can come back from it. So go ahead and drop Miroku here, recover the 2 play points, and then use the coin to coin out the Lyria for a very strong board. And then we can go ahead and use Miroku to hit 3 damage here to clear their followers, and then we punch them in the face. The reason why we punch them in the face is because Dragon doesn't have that many ways to attack all of these. The main ways they have to clear these ambush followers is just like AoE spells, like the 7 cost spell. And even if they have Galamil, they will guarantee leave 1 body on board, so we're fine there. So basically the idea is just to get the face damage in case they want to play the 7 cost spell for AoE. So we play around the worst case condition here, so we get the damage in while we can. There's not really a punish for leaving them, for taking them out of ambush anyway. From my vibe is that they don't have a good way to clear this board anyway. And they end up leaving 1 Tanuki alive, which is more or less what we expected. Go ahead and evolve the Tanuki here, which allows us to draw into our deck as well as clear that board. The reason why I evolve here, or rather I think I can get away with evolving here, is just because I'm guaranteed to have a way to deal with this Galamil. Worst case scenario, if I don't draw anything good, we just drop either Gilnelis or Miroku to clear this, and then we hit face. In this case, we pick up Tia, which is very nice. We can go ahead and use Miroku to recover some play points, and that will allow us to play Tia here. The value of this board is by having 2 bodies, they're only at 8 play points, so they won't be able to get a free Sagatsumatsu to face. Whereas the best can do is Sagatsumatsu and clear 1, and then hit me in the face after that, but at least 1 follow on board, which is not ideal for them, so that is the idea here. And we just punch them in the face, of course. I'll use their Mega Lorca here, and then they use Dragon Nuke Promoter as well. This will allow them to fully... Oh, they have a Lightning Strike, so yeah, they fully clear my board with some tempo, which is fine. We just want to keep applying pressure to their face. You go for Gilneas plus Eve here. This puts them down to 7, which means that they are within lethal range of Arisa Super Evo. They're most likely going to play Burn Knight next turn. They don't have enough to play Urn, so they won't be getting much healing done. The best healing they have is Gilneas. And I guess that might be a bit annoying, but if they think they're super evil, we have stuff like Dogged 1 and Arisa and like Eve and a lot of storm damage to come back from it if they go for Gilneas here. So in this case, they go for Burn Knight. So even if they went for Gilneas, we just clear them out while hitting face with something like Arisa, and then eventually they will have to play Burn Knight, and then at that point we hit them with Dogged 1 to kill them. So yeah, in this case though, they just played Burn Knight here, so we can just kill them with the Arisa or Cetus Macia. So yeah, pretty straightforward, aggressive game plan to beat Dragon here and take advantage of the turns they spend ramping while not doing much. So that's it for this game. Our next match is against Sword, and we are going second again. Once again, we just keep early game stuff. I can't Cruel against Sword because Sword goes wide as well, and since we are going second, we are probably going to at some point try to swing tempo with Cruel. Plus, Sword has a bad time clearing ambushes before turn 6 because their best... right now, most Sword lists the best way to clear ambush that they are running is Bunny and Baron spell, which means they have to evolve Bunny and Baron, and then they get the spell which they have to play next turn, so you just have to watch out for that. One drop the Yetmetra here and hits me in the face with the Operative. Oh, they just dropped the Steel Plate 9, which is fine. Go ahead and call in Cruel here. We don't want to take too much damage, plus we do have a better play, and setting out Cruel here allows us to set up more ambushes. Once again, they will have trouble clearing. Opponent was going to go for Serenity Shield here and go super wide, which is fine. We're going to draw a second Cruel here. We are basically setting out a board so that we can get a huge value out of Curiosity Abounds. And we pre-evolve the Prudent Tanuki here. We're looking to evolve another follower to hit face next turn, and evolving Prudent Tanuki allows us to draw more into our deck and find more resources basically. Opponent goes a bit wide here with the Zeta Bait into the Quick Blader. Going ahead and poke me in the face with it. This turn, honestly, I don't really know what the correct play would have been. I decided to trade Cruel here on the off chance that Curiosity Abounds pulls of... I forgot her name. The 2-cost follower that summons a fairy when you buff it, and this will allow us to clear that. So that is the idea here, and we do end up picking it up. So go ahead and do that, and then we just evolve Rufflet, that's what she is. We evolve Rufflet to trade here, and then we focus on trading here. Sword is really bad at clearing wide boards. The best they have is once again Bunny, Baron, Evo plus the spell. In that case, it clears most of their followers because the spell doesn't do super well into this board, so yeah, we're not too worried about that. In this case though, they didn't have Bunny and Baron, so they will use that sort of the Sword here. The Serenity Shield. And then Orchestrated Silence as well to get some Knights, I guess. They will fail to clear my board here, which is great for me. We can keep applying pressure. We go for Yuan Sashie. Honestly, I think there is like an argument for going something like Miroku into Michelle here instead, but I decided to play a bit safer and get some value out of this Yuan Sashie here. The crest is great because it allows you to evolve stuff, which means you can evolve your storms for more damage. In this case, we are about to set out a board here, and then we hit face. Again, no reason to save the ambush here. They don't have good AoE clears. The best AoE clears they have is Nat and Vincent, in which case the ambush really doesn't matter, so we should just get the damage in while we can. Opponent's gonna go for Cesar here. It's fine. They trade into the smaller Tanuki here, which allows me to get a very easy lethal off of these two. But just to be clear, I guess I should probably actually probably just let it play out first. So I end up having this like very easy lethal here, very messy lethal just with Lyria into Miroku. And we can use a Super Evolve Miroku here and recover play points, which allow us to drop the Cetus Macia this turn as well, which we will go ahead and do. And Cetus and Meisha will get through the and then Prudent Tanuki and Cetus Meisha will be able to deal damage for lethal. But this was because they left the big Tanuki alive. So just to be clear, even if they didn't do that, which I can show off here. Even if they didn't leave the big Tanuki alive, we could have just done this instead, which trade Tanuki here. We use Dogged one to get the evolve. And then we coin Spirited Skipper. We can super evolve the Skipper here, which will give the Fairy's Bane, which allows to clear the whole board while getting 1 damage ping here, and this would have been lethal anyway. So yeah, that's it for this game. You can see that I guess it's just tempo stuff, I guess. I don't know what to say here. Our last game here is gonna be the mirror match. Again, we just look for early game. Ideally, want to keep we want to find a buffering card like the 5-cost spell or the 2-cost follower legendary that I can't remember the name. I'm still not getting the names of the new cards yet. 1 coins Lyria here, which allows them to go on the offensive, which isn't great for me, but we can do our best, I guess. They clear into the Rufflet as well, so pretty strong turns from my opponent here. We're gonna go ahead and use the Citrus to clear the Rufflet while going face with the other Rufflet here. We could have full cleared that board and left the Citrus alive, but you know, I'm not sure if that would have been the best play. Okay, they will clear my board and then leave the Citrus alive while they poke me in the face with the area. Just a bit annoying, but it's fine. We go ahead and use Brilliant Tanuki here and then we trade the Pharaoh. The idea is that we're gonna use Spirited Skipper next turn no matter what anyway, so we might as well leave clearing that board the next turn. I'm gonna go for Citrus here and evolve the Citrus to set out a board. It's good for me. It would be a bit annoying if they evolve the Lyria here to hit me in the face with more damage, I guess. But anyway, we're just gonna go ahead and use my Skipper here, which will full clear this board quite well. We hit with the Tanuki here to keep it alive, just to make sure we have more stats on board to annoy my opponent with, because I don't know, I feel like this deck has some problem with clearing white boards sometimes without specific answers, so we're hoping to get something to stick here by keeping our board as wide as possible. Which my opponent does have Spirited Skipper here, so they will be able to clear this board. We don't really have a better play here. We could have went for Michelle or something, but I don't really think that's that good. So we go for and try to maintain board pressure here with another Spirited Skipper. You will see that this almost comes back to bite me, so I'm not sure if this was the correct play, but at this point in time, it was the best play I could think of, so I went with it. I'm gonna go for Miracle as here, and then they will go ahead and use the 5-cost spell as well, which will allow them to set up a fairly decent board here. I go ahead and go for the Yua Associate. There is a small chance that Yua Associate actually doesn't full clear this board, but thankfully we missed that chance, so very good there. We go ahead and use this Rufflet as well, which allows us to clear Lyria, and then just getting value out of this crest will be great once they run out of EO points, which they are very close to. This time my opponent goes for Miroku again. He will super evolve the Miroku as well. And they pair it with a Fairy, and then another Fairy, and a Tia as well, just a pretty annoying board for us to deal with, I guess, but thankfully we do have this crest from UN Associate to answer this board, so we can do it quite well. At this point, they are out evil points, so my goal is to just pressure them on board now, since they will most likely not be able to clear what I do. So we go ahead and super evolve the Fairy here, which is maybe a bit of a weird super evo, but I want to make sure to full clear here. And we drop Michelle to give all my followers barrier and get rid of the Miroku here. And here my opponent reveals that they're actually playing the Evo variant that runs Althenia, which honestly, if they dropped Althenia last turn, I probably would have been in trouble, so I guess they probably top deck this, so lucky for me, I guess. But yeah, they're gonna go ahead and draw Althenia here to sort of lock my board since all my followers have barriers, so it's a bit hard to make space here. Unfortunately, I just barely don't have lethal here because of the board lock, but it's probably fine. We can just keep enhancing our board, and eventually my opponent has to answer it or die. So go ahead and use Arisa here and hit face my opponent. At this point, I think they just failed to answer this board, so they just end up conceding, but yeah. There's Yua Associate. definitely unable to answer this board adequately, so they just concede. So those are all the games I have for you today. Hopefully give you some idea of how this deck works. I think Temple Forest, this expansion is actually quite interesting as an archetype because it has a lot of power for sure, but it's not like overwhelming power to the point of what Ramp Dragon does. So even though you do have a lot of aggressive plays and you can definitely deal a lot of damage, you have to sort of play a more tempo-oriented game and just keep going face in order to win. And you need to manage your cards to make sure you know what you're doing for each matchup. For example, using ambush against matchups that have a bad time clearing it. Same thing with Michelle's barrier. Some decks just have a lot of trouble clearing barrier. And if you play against a deck that has very strong late game that you might need to answer, you may consider keeping stuff like Super Evolve points for Spirited Skipper, because this Super Evolve is very good for clearing followers. And in addition to just the gameplay aspect of this deck, I think deck building also, there's a lot of options. You can run things like Vestia to make sure to make your followers bigger, or you can run an Evolve package, which is seeing some popularity after Diane uploaded a video about it, and you saw earlier in this video as well. So yeah, if you are a Forest fan, I think this deck is I think you will be quite happy with the new expansion here, being able to play with so many different cards and ideas. So yeah, that's it for today. See you next time. Bye bye.